it's such an American thing to stress about time off.
Very American,
I,
yes.
again, I don't know what that says about us collectively, other than we all really need a break. Hey everyone, this is the In Your Corner podcast from CBS News Philadelphia. I'm Josh Sidorowicz. If you feel like you need a break, you're probably not alone. A new survey reveals a shockingly large number of people say that they are not using their paid time off from work. According to Flex Jobs, nearly a quarter of workers said that they did not take a single vacation day in the past year. So what does that say about work culture? About us? What is it costing you to leave vacation time on the table? Career coach Rita Friedman is our guest this week to talk about why we aren't taking our vacation time, what it means for our work-life balance, and how to find employers that value your time off. Rita, welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. You're based in Philadelphia. What is a career coach?
So, the type of career coach I am works with individuals to help them figure out what's next and how to get there. And then I also work with organizations to do professional development workshops for their teams.
So this is more than just helping someone find a job.
Yes, absolutely.
Coaching them through once they get it, how to balance it with everything else in life, kind of.
Yep. How to navigate difficult situations or changes in your workplace, how to plan for what's ahead, and how to work with your coworkers or
All
your
kinds of
situation.
different people.
All kinds of different people, yes.
Well, so look, the big headline from this survey, 1 in 4 people say they took 0 vacation days. Meantime, even among those who said that they did take PTO, many only took a handful, between 1 and 10. Some say, well, just because of the lack of actual PTO that they have, but most cite reasons like the workload being just too much, being afraid of falling behind, because they feel guilty to take it. And of course, all PTO is not created the same either, right?
Right.
You've got accrued PTO, you've got use it or lose it, unlimited PTO that employers offer, which funny enough, I feel like for my friends who I know who do have this kind of policy, they almost seem even more reluctant
Yes.
to use it, which we'll dive in. Let's dive into that a little. I mean, but overall, you hear these findings. What does this say about us?
I think it says we're stressed out, we're caught up in the day to day of our jobs, and we have to find a way to take a step back and figure out how to create a sense of balance.
Even when part of the job are these days, most of us are given some days at least, we still feel a reluctance. Why?
So I think that depends, right? I think some people are just resistant to change or to a disruption to the routine. I think some people are genuinely afraid that if they take their time off, they're going to come back to a huge mountain of work and it might feel even worse than if they didn't take time off.
Mhm.
I think some people are worried that someone else is going to swoop in and take their job if they're gone for just a second. There's so many different reasons.
I mean, it does feel we are in a go culture, where it feels like work hard, play hard, right? Is sort of that mentality that some increasingly people live by, and so I can understand the resistance sometimes to unplug. Certainly in my own role, so I get that, but it also at the same time, it's like I know you can't quantify it, but what does that cost you
Right.
when you are not taking this time?
Right. I mean, I think that costs you the ability to take a step back and really evaluate where you're even putting your energy and your time at work, which is to say nothing about the rest of your life and all of the other things you're doing. Um, and I think it perpetuates that go, go, go culture. When you work someplace and you see your coworkers aren't taking their time off, it makes it so much harder for you to feel like it's okay to
Mhm.
take what you should be taking.
Just something that very much starts, it sounds like in the culture itself of the place that you're working.
And some of it is explicit, people saying, oh, you can't take this time off. We've got to get this big project done. We have a deadline coming up. Some of it is much more of vibes, right? Just feeling like there's all of this pressure, feeling you're going to disappoint somebody
Mm.
by taking time off. I think some of it is also trying to balance time off with your colleagues' needs for time off. Often everybody wants the same days off.
Same holiday time, same spring break weeks, kids are off school,
Yep.
right? We all kind of run into that.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I tell you what, I ain't never leaving a vacation day on the table. Okay. But I do acknowledge it can be probably more difficult in some jobs than others, right?
Mhm.
Depending on what you're doing, where you're working. Um, you know, this job requires you to be plugged in a lot of the time. That said, I will hand it to management here. Um, if you ask for a day off, they're going to tell you take the day. So I think that there's a decent balance, but I can understand that's not necessarily the case for everyone.
Not for everyone. I think also, as you think about taking a day off, oftentimes you have to also think about what's going to happen to the work while you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe management says, sure, take the day off,
Mm,
but your coworker needs a plan. Your boss needs to have some sense of accountability for what you're going to do when you come back or who's going to do it while
mm-hmm.
you're gone. And so I actually think this is such a great time of year to be thinking about that and looking ahead at your calendar, not just to plan when you're taking days off and how you're going to maximize your PTO, but to also come up with a plan, maybe even an actual written out document of what's going to happen while you're out, what you hope other people will pick up on, and maybe even a checklist for somebody else to do so that you don't come back to that huge mountain of work or that feeling like now you're behind.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. It was start of the year. People are mapping out their time now, right, for the
Yeah.
rest of the year, getting those requests in. And I always see too at the start of the year, you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. There's those posts that are like, maximize your time, turn 15 days into 40 or something like that.
Hmm.
How realistic is that even?
It really depends on where you work and it depends on how far in advance you plan. So, if you're planning right now for the vacation you might take in December, you might have a leg up on all of your coworkers who aren't going to be thinking about it for a few months to come. So, I think this is such a good time of year to look at that calendar, to look at as much as you can anticipate your workflow throughout the year. Are there busy times? Are there slower times? Is there your colleague's wedding where
Hmm.
she's going to be out and you need to be there.
Hmm.
And really just think about what makes sense for you and your workplace.
I will admit, even when I am encouraged to take time off, there is still the process of kind of working a little harder in the days leading up so that you're set up for success when you come back. Or, stories in my case still need to air, maybe even when I'm gone.
Right.
So you're like jamming, on the front end to take the vacation. So I mean, where is there a better way to manage it? Help me, Rita.
So I think so much of this comes down to your calendar. Some of it is actually planning out your days strategically, but a lot of it is planning little blocks of time in your calendar to sit down and think about what's actually happening that week or that day. And so maybe you're going to plan your vacation time in advance. And then you're also going to plan a 3 hour block a week before that vacation where you say, I'm blocking out this time so that I can look at what's on my calendar in real time. How am I setting myself up? When am I going to give myself extra time in advance? When am I going to give myself time when I come back?
You got to be a planner.
You have to be a planner. Yeah,
Are you a color-coded calendar girly here?
I am. I am. But I tell you, I also have to do lists that
Okay.
I've had for 3 months, right? If it's on my calendar, I get it done. If it's just on a to do list, it could sit there forever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What's the psyche there behind that? What do you think it is?
I respond well to bells and whistles.
Okay.
Right? So when my phone beeps at me, I do it. It's also just that dedicated time and being able to move things around, right? So if I have an hour scheduled on my calendar to think about my own career development and planning,
Mhm.
if I something comes up and I can't do it, I'm going to reschedule that hour the way I would reschedule a dentist appointment, as opposed to if it's on my to-do list, it could just stay there.
It's behind 10 other things that
Right.
you'll get to it when you get to it.
Yeah, and so much of this is all about prioritization and
Hmm.
figuring out where your priorities are in any given moment. And how do you respond to that? How do you give things the right amount of time and attention?
S- But easier said than done for a lot of people, right? To who,
Much easier for everyone.
for
Yes,
everyone.
I
How
think
do you
so.
prioritize? How do you pick and choose? I mean, that's a daily battle for me
It
sometimes.
it really is. And I think though that's where to start, right? Is to give yourself time to prioritize.
Give
And
yourself time to make time.
yes,
Okay.
yes, I know that sounds so ridiculous, but it's so helpful to create compartmentalization, to give everything its own dedicated time, its own space. And then that way you can really sit down and think about it and be present in the moment instead of being reactive, right? You always hear, people say you want to be the thermostat, not the thermometer, right? If you're the thermometer, you're taking the temperature of the room and reporting on it. If you're the thermostat, you're setting the temperature. And so to give yourself that time to really think, what are my priorities right now? Because I think part of why we often feel out of balance is that not only are every person's priorities and needs different, but on an individual level, your priorities are always shifting. And what you need might be different from one day, one week to the next.
I like that. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Right.
All about finding where you can take control of the
Yes.
situation, right?
Exactly.
So is that what you and I talked a little bit before this? You mentioned something called micro boundaries. Is
hmm
that kind of where this falls
Yeah,
in
this
line?
I think micro boundaries are definitely a part of this, right? And so sometimes it's a question of just getting caught up in the day to day, right? I think before you even get there, I think the first question is to identify what are your own indicators? What are the things that happen that throw you out of balance? What are the things that just sort of reprioritize your calendar? And so it might be for some people that they get really stressed out if they're not able to take time off to do a personal event, maybe to go to a kid's sporting game, and they have
Hmm.
to miss that for work. That could really make somebody feel terrible for a week. It might be that you're disturbed by bright lights or loud noises, but it might also be that you feel out of balance when too many things are competing for your time. And so for some people, going from meeting to meeting to meeting is totally fine.
Hmm.
For some people, that's really stressful. And so a micro boundary might be building in a 3-minute break between back to back meetings just to drink some water
Hmm.
and breathe, right? It might be talking about your calendar. It might also be making sure that you're scheduling things that bring you joy and not just scheduling work and things you have to do, because so much of this is a mindset thing. And if you look at your calendar and all you see is task, 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 responsibility, responsibility, just looking at it can feel crushing and can sort of feed that sense of go, go, go. But if you look at your calendar and you see task, task, 10-minute walk, task, lunch with a friend, building in time to do the things that bring you joy that you might think you're going to find time to do. Like if you love to go running, you might feel like, oh, I'm going to find a way to do that because I care about it.
Hmm.
But then the pressures build, things get added to your calendar, and that kind of slips out of your mix for a week. And then you feel even worse. But if you're calendaring it and you're building in those things that you enjoy and that recharge you, that can also be a micro boundary, right? Putting those little things in to make sure that you're getting those done too.
But being intentional about it.
Being intentional about it.
Because I guess none of this is going to happen by accident, or frankly, none of it's going to be necessarily easy to get going, right?
No, it can be hard to get going, but I think it's like so many things, it's inertia, right? It's once you get into the habit of doing it,
Hmm.
once you start protecting your time, once you start setting those boundaries,
Yeah.
it's easier to keep enforcing those than to start up from scratch.
What if too? I mean, the reality is for a decent number of people, maybe they don't even have the option of PTO, or they truly only do have a few days here and there. I mean, is it possible in that situation to attain some of the same kind of work life balance? That to me would feel like, well, good, you're on your own. Good luck.
I think that depends, right? For some people, if what you realize is you actually only get a few days off a year and that's not enough for you, maybe it is time to look for
Mm.
a better environment or some place that can really meet your needs. or to have a discussion with your boss or to try to figure out how can you create more time in the job that you have. I think that for some people, they're okay with minimal time off. But again, if they're very intentional, maybe you do that thing where you're going to take the Tuesday after Memorial Day off to create an extra long weekend or something like that. That can also be really helpful.
Well, so that kind of leads me to my next question then when it comes to, looking for a job. And I hate treating PTO like a perk, even though I guess that it is. It shouldn't be. It should be a given. The reality is that it is sort of a benefit, um, and how most companies treat it. So, what do you recommend to? There are a lot of people who are looking for a job right now. Um, how to kind of assess PTO policies and figure out if an employer, a prospective employer, does align with the kind of time off that you want to have in your life.
Some of it is doing some research. I think Glassdoor reviews are pretty informative when it comes to actual paid time off and what people feel they're able to take. I think talking about it through the interview process can be really useful. Might not be your first interview to talk about how much time do I get off if I get this job.
Yeah.
But once you're deeper into the interview process and you're really talking about this is the workflow, these are the expectations, that's a great time to talk about it. And maybe you're not asking, how much time do I get off? Maybe you're saying, oh, how do you handle it when multiple people are looking for a vacation at the same week? And getting a sense of what that response is there and asking people, oh, tell me about the last vacation you took and what it was like to come back to work.
Because that'll really peel back the curtain of what the actual culture and vibe, if you will, is like in the
Yeah.
office.
Mm-hmm.
So something as simple that's a great one. Asking that, or hey, what happens if you take a week or two off?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to fear for my job when I come back? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a totally reasonable question to ask once you're deep into the interview process.
So save that for maybe round 2 or 3.
Yes, definitely.
Why is it that unlimited PTO scares so many people?
Because I think sometimes it is sort of a trap,
It
right?
feels like a trap.
And it feels like a parent asking you, like, what do you think your punishment should be, right? It's sort of like, oh, if I only take 2 days off when I have unlimited time, am I sending a message that I'm a really hard worker, that I don't take unnecessary time off?
It feels like it's such an American thing to stress about time off.
Very American, yes.
Again, I don't know what that says about us collectively, other than we all really need a break.
We do. We all need a break. And I think it's so important for people to acknowledge that and to be okay with that and to just sort of own it and say, like, hey, I'm really good at what I do. I work really hard. I show up. You can count on me. And I'm going to take 2 weeks off every year.
So being confident, too, in what you bring to the table when you are working,
Yes.
that it's not going to be pulled out from under you necessarily just because you go away for a little bit.
Right. And that might also mean being a little more conscientious about that and maybe showing off how much you work a little more right before you're going out on vacation or right when you're coming back. Some of it's theater.
Jeez. I don't know that I like that.
Yeah. And I think some of it is also being clear about your expectations, right? So if you're going to go out on vacation for a week and you need your colleague to respond to some important message that might be coming in, maybe you're going to give him some talking points or give him a little cheat sheet or something like that, just so that you're not really shifting that burden to him, but you're giving him some tools to be able to step up and do a little more.
I think another really good tell of culture at a place, too, is the expectations around just responding to an email or taking a phone call, whether if it's after business hours, if it's on a weekend, and that will say a lot, right, about what you can expect when it comes to time off.
So much. I had a client who she was a real workhorse. She just did everything. She was always going above and beyond. And it wasn't until she caught herself responding to emails while she was at the dentist getting her teeth cleaned that she realized, oh no,
I have a problem.
I'm doing too much,
Yeah.
right? And so that's why I say it's so important to notice what's happening, because often by the time you feel burned out, you really are burned out.
It's too
and
late.
It's so hard to come back from that.
because you've dug yourself into kind of a hole.
Yeah, yeah. And again, coming back to calendaring, that's why it's so good to look ahead, figure out when are you going to take time for yourself? When are you going to go hard at work and really do extra so that you can plan and balance around those expectations?
I said, you won't see me leaving any day on at the table. I will find a way, even if I have to claw myself out of here, you know?
Well, so how do you do it? So what do you do when you're going to be, when you know you want to take a
hmm
vacation, but you have shows to put together?
Well, look, I too am a fan of the color-coded calendar. I've got everything in there, and it requires being a planner. That on this day, I've got to have this done by this day, even though it's not going to be needed for another 3 or 4 days. You know, I'm used to working under very tight deadlines, so I think it's just a matter of organization when you've got multiple kind of what do you call it, irons in the fire, so to speak.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of it is planning ahead. It's kind of going really hard right before so that everything's set,
Hmm.
either when you're gone or when you get back, because there just isn't a lot of time to play catch up
Right.
in this business. you know, most
No.
times we're already reactive as it is. So prepare as much as you can. But I mean, look, it's still a learning thing for me too. Every day I'm trying to find better ways to do it because it's not always successful.
Well, I think it's a learning experience for everyone, right? One of the things I do when I'm taking time off is I always plan to give myself an extra recovery day at the end so that then if something comes up, if somebody gets sick on vacation,
Yeah.
if I just want to sit down and get back into that work mindset before I actually have to like turn on and go, I have a little extra wiggle room for myself.
That is the one thing I am so guilty of not doing is the buffer day, which sounds so great and but then I'm like, but that's like an extra day that like do I really want to burn that day when I could use it somewhere else for another vacation. That is still a battle that I fight with every, I think, extended period of time off is do I build in that day? Do I take that day? I don't
Well,
know.
do you ever feel like you have a day where you have nothing to do and you're bored?
No.
Then
No.
then that day isn't really a day off or a buffer day. It's giving yourself
Yeah.
time so that you're not super stressed out
Yeah.
as soon as you are back.
I also, on that note too, though, I also have to fight the battle of if there is a day that I truly take to do nothing, that it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because what is this guilt that I sit with sometimes that, like, well, surely I gotta be getting something done, right? Like, no,
Well,
sit and rot, you
but
know?
sometimes what you're getting done is taking care of other
Yeah.
priorities, right? Maybe you're spending extra time with your dog who missed you while you were on
Mm-hmm.
vacation, and that's really important.
Sure.
Maybe it's that you're going to the dentist and not checking your emails, right? I think figuring out what will you do with that time if you're not working can also just make you feel more productive. So if you come back and you're like, "Oh, I don't have a ton to catch up on. I did all of this stuff to prepare.
Sure.
I'm in such a good spot. Okay, here are these 5 other things I've been putting off."
Well, and maybe it gets rid of the impending dread and doom of having to go back to work because you're not walking into an absolute chaos storm. Not the term I would have used, but yeah. All right. Well, look, Rita. I mean, this is a lot here, a lot of good stuff to take. I think again, you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. It's not just going to happen. So figuring out how to prioritize, figuring out how to. I like those micro boundaries.
And I think it's that planning, that intentionality, and then, of course, communication, right? Telling the people around you, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I expect. This is what I'll be doing when I come back. So that you don't feel like you come back and people are jumping on you right away. They know what to expect.
Have you been able to master this?
Master it? No, but I think I keep getting better at it.
Which is all we can ask for at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
Rita Friedman, career coach and color-coded calendar extraordinaire.
That's me.
Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. This was such a good conversation.